Paul Barrett, CEO of Rome Resources. We are a tin explorer in the DRC. We're currently drilling with 4 rigs and putting out announcements from time to time. So this is what we're going to talk about today.
Fantastic. Good to see you again, Paul. Today I'd kind of like to walk away with a better understanding of the kind of the scope of the deposits and the drilling and so forth. But you put out some results recently. Why don't we start with those?
Yeah, so these are assays from recent drilling on the Kalayi prospect. So we have two prospects next to each other. Kalayi is pure tin, Mont Agoma is polymetallic, copper, tin, and zinc. So these results were for recent Kalayi wells, and these are, as I say, pure tin. So we've seen some really quite consistent tin grades throughout the Kalayi prospect, and this is just really bringing home the story that this prospect, or rather the tin grades, increase with depth. So we are going deeper and deeper into the system with each of the holes that we drill. We have actually moved the Kalayi rig to Mont Agoma to catch up on Mont Agoma, but we shall go back. And then the plan basically is to put out a resource on the Kalayi prospect, probably by the end of March, I would hope.
Oh, pretty soon. Okay, so basically the latest results at Kalayi, and tell me if it's true of Mont Agoma as well, they indicate like this strong mineralization continuity at depth. So are you starting to get a better understanding of the geological model as this drilling advances?
Yes, I mean, Kalayi is relatively simple. It is 3 tin intercepts that are steeply dipping. The geometry is quite simple. It's a matter of chasing where the actual thicks and thins, the pinch and swell of these zones takes place, and that's why the drilling continues at depth and to the south. So, yes, every hole gives us more information, but it is a relatively simple geological model that we're chasing.
Can you explain this sort of the pinching and swelling? I mean, what are we talking about here, and how's that affecting your sort of future drilling plans?
Well, of course, we can't predict the pinch and swell. So what happens is, effectively, you have a shear zone which develops some accommodation space. As the shear zone moves, it opens up in some places and closes in others. And as it opens up, it allows the fluids to come in, and then they will deposit the tin in this instance. So it's quite difficult to predict, but the overall geometry is quite simple. So it's chasing those variations within that zone.
Okay, and are you seeing any sort of similarities between Kalayi and Alphaman's Impala South deposits in terms of the structure, grade, tonnage, etc.?
Very much so. The grades themselves we haven't got to the alpha min grades yet, but we're seeing certainly very promising 1.5–2% grades throughout, and the geology is very similar in terms of its cassiterite veins within a chlorite microschist system. Very similar. It's the same system basically.
Okay, and just tell us a little bit more about the resource that you're going to go with, the MRE. Given the drilling only covers a small portion of the 2,000 meter soil anomaly, how much more drilling are you going to do to be able to include that in the MRE?
Well, this is something that we are discussing internally. I think because we've moved the rig to Mont Agoma to catch up on some of the slow drilling that we've had there, and we'll come back to Kalayi after the Mont Agoma holes have been drilled. So there will be a bit of a gap, but I think we will have enough information to put out that maiden resource estimate with the holes that we've drilled to date. We haven't got all the assays back yet, but we've got the coverage with the drilling. So the drilling of the northwest and the southeast extensions will be in the next phase of drilling. So once we get the resource, we'll come back. We'll certainly drill these other couple of holes and then work out how we go, whether we infill the core area further to get a better handle on the resource distribution, or whether we go for the upside, or whether we do a combination. So it's a little bit up
for grabs
to what the you will be.
Okay, and in terms of this, coming back to the kind of depth component, the grades improving at depth, I mean, how deep do you think you need to go before you can sort of define this 43 1 hour resource?
Well, we're drilling down to about a maximum of about 350 meters at the moment.
Okay.
There is scope for taking it further, but I don't think we need to do that at this stage. We just leave the deposit as being open at depth and therefore, subject to future deeper drilling.
Right. Okay. And in terms of the drilling that you've been doing today, you said it's relatively simple. Is it predictable in terms of what's your success rate in terms of converting exploration targets into mineralized intercepts?
Oh, it is quite, now that we've got quite a good database of intercepts on Kalayi and on Mont Agoma, it is relatively straightforward. We are predicting intercepts and they're coming in within a few tens of meters of the prediction. So yes, we've got a pretty good handle on where we're going with each hole that's drilled.
Okay. And just like this, if we can nip over with Mont Agoma a little bit more and talk about, because you've talked about the potential visible gold mineralization. I mean, how confident are you about this becoming a fully fledged, new copper discovery for the company?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. So Mont Agoma being polymetallic, it's got the copper. The overall model is the copper is shallow, the tin is deep, and the zinc is everywhere. So it's one of those things that we've seen a lot of copper. We've seen a lot of copper in the northern holes that we have. And that copper geochemical anomaly, which we haven't drilled up yet, extends further north. The tin anomaly doesn't. So we're seeing that the copper probably extends further north. We're drilling at the moment. We're getting some pretty interesting results actually on a day-to-day basis. Now that we've got 4 rigs operating on Mont Agoma, things are moving quite a lot quicker, which is good because we need to catch up. And so at the moment we have probably, where are we, 18, we've got 6, we have 4 holes in the lab in terms of waiting for assays, 2 being drilled at the moment. And so the conveyor belt's still moving, and it's moving a lot quicker than it was, let's say, just before Christmas, which is good. Operations are really, at the moment, touch wood, are really motoring along.
And I mean, we did talk about that before Christmas in terms of the time frame, issues around the assay lab results coming back. But then it kind of plans to establish any kind of in-country facility. Is that an option for you to kind of speed things up?
Not really. I don't think that's slick. I mean, we use ALS in Johannesburg, and it is quite slow. And I have used ALS in Ireland before now, and they've been extremely efficient. So we are talking to them about potentially. Of course, the logistics of getting samples from DRC to Ireland may not be perfect. It might be that Johannesburg is the best thing to do. So, but we are looking at it.
And what's that do in terms of like sample integrity and accuracy in terms of these long, transport routes that you're having to utilize?
Yeah, well, they go to Lubumbashi down in the south of the DRC to the coal lab there for basically sample preparation. So that's all done in a very controlled manner, and then they get shipped by the lab in Lubumbashi to ALS for the actual assays. So it is a well controlled process at the moment.
Right, and obviously, I think you talked about this a lot, but in terms of your recent relocation of the logistical hub to Kisangani, etc. I mean, I imagine that's partially, obviously, to calm nerves, as it were. But what else has that done for you? Was it essential for you to do?
Well, of course, Goma closed. Unfortunately, we can't operate through Goma. I mean, Goma was the obvious choice. I mean, having international flights out to Addis and various places, it was very good. Kisangani has domestic flights to Kinshasa, so it adds a leg to a crew change. It adds a leg in terms of a flight, but it's still perfectly doable. We've just brought some engineers over from Kisangani. We have Kisangani is twice as far as Goma in the opposite direction, and we burn a lot of jet fuel by flying backwards and forwards, but we have about 3 or 4 months worth of jet fuel in the store at Osakari. So, that's not critical. It's just annoying, but it's perfectly doable, and it shows that there were 2 of the rigs that were broken down, and we got the engineers in and they fixed them, etc., etc. So it does work. It works as an operation in terms of coming out of Kisangani.
Okay, so So basically, the impact on drilling efficiency is de minimis. Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's no effect at all, actually. I mean, as long as we have the helicopter on site and it can run backwards and forwards to Osakari to pick up supplies which come in by road from Kisangani, then everything's hunky-dory.
Okay, and then obviously just finishing off on that one, in terms of safety protocols and so forth, you've been through an exercise now. So, quite a question we get asked a lot is, well, how safe is the Bisley North site as a result of all of this?
If you look at the map of where M23 have been active, their area of influence and their area of activity shuts off basically at the border of the cultivated land in the rift, and then to the west of that it's dense jungle. So absolutely dense jungle. There's very little access, etc. What we've done is we have a relationship with the Alpha Min country manager, and so we're talking about coordinating if it comes to it. Obviously they have the airstrip. We can fly our helicopter in and out, get our people out to the airstrip and basically coordinate with Alpha Min on getting out if we have to. But there's no, we're watching, and there is no sign of any movement to the west of Bukavu. And then, then we take a view. And if Alpha Min decide it's time to shut down the operation, we'll do the same thing. But at the moment, there's no sign of that.
Okay. Right, you've got 4 drills operating on site. It suggests that the balance sheet is healthy, and and the results are delivering what you want them to deliver. So it's all kind of good news. So what is the kind of capital position, and how much more of this exploration budget have you got to spend?
Well, we're about 3 million sterling at the moment, maybe slightly less after paying a few more bills, but that's the kind of level. So I predict that we'll still have about 2 million sterling in the bank at the end of this current drilling program, which will give us a lot of flexibility in what to do next.
Okay, and when are you deciding what to do next, or is it ongoing?
Well, as I say, the Kalayi resource, we're hoping by the end of March. Mont Agoma is a little more complicated because it's got 3 commodities, so we will get out probably end of April. And then pretty much soon after that, we will announce what we're doing next, which will be kind of early May, mid-May.
Okay. Let's talk about the market a little bit, and then we'll come back to what next. Tin market outlook. Obviously, tin's trading around 34, 35,
33, 34. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So your long-term view still holds, does it?
Long-term, yeah. I mean, obviously, we're not really affected by the any short-term volatility, but the long-term demand and the squeeze on supply from various places is ongoing. But the key really is demand, and I think that you will see that a lot of the countries that want to go forward in terms of the AI revolution, electrification, etc., which for countries like the US and India, etc., will be driving demand going forward, because tin is glues all the electronics together, and there is no substitute. So I think longer term, it's really looking good for the tin market.
And do you think sort of having a kind of pure play tin resource is good news for you guys? Well, I know we've kind of got the polymetallic Mont Agoma, but the kind of pure play component, are you having sort of enjoying conversations at these sort of conferences or with strategics as a result?
Not at the moment, but we are talking. At the moment, we're looking at the kind of operational side, and we have had discussions with metallurgical consultants to look at how we could possibly get a copper, zinc, and tin concentrate out of Mont Agoma. So yeah, I mean, we're looking to not only clearly monetize the tin, but the significant copper is certainly going to add a lot of value to the business, and the zinc may come along. I mean, zinc's a lower price commodity, but there is a lot of it.
Right. Okay. I guess so. Looking ahead, coming back to that question, looking ahead, we've got a maiden resource coming out. What do you think that's going to do for you? And why are you rushing to get that out so soon?
Well, I wouldn't say it's rushing. I mean, we've been drilling since September, well, early September.
That's rushing. In the conversations I have, that's rushing because most people drill for years without actually coming out with anything useful.
I don't like that idea. I do not like the idea of just drilling for drilling's sake. And really, we've done this drilling. We've undertaken this drilling program to get a resource out. So we're just going to do what we said we're going to do.
Okay. Is that the oil man in you? Is that what it is?
I know it's the go get it kind of attitude.
Right, but obviously, ultimately, people want to take a look at this resource, and they will make projections about maybe the economics, etc., based on what you come out with. So, is it a kind of a bit of a poison chalice potentially if you don't hit the numbers that the market is expecting?
Well, I think the thing is with tin being such a high price commodity and the demand curve looking like it does, and we've got alpha mint next door, that the incremental cost or the cost of production of anything can support a relatively small resource. We don't know what size the resource is, but it's not. We don't need a large resource to make it very commercially attractive.
Right. And will you therefore be sort of moving forward on getting some kind of economic study around this resource as well?
That'll be an option. I think, yes, we need to start looking at that because obviously, a deposit's not worth anything unless you can actually commercialize it. So that is a key element that we need to look at.
And so what should we be expecting? Is this small but perfectly formed? I get into some kind of revenue situation in the shortest time frame possible, rather than build this out to be, something, a tier one project from day one. What's the business model again? Remind me.
I think if we look next door, I mean, obviously Alpha Min, we have about 3, 4, 5 years maximum at the moment in terms of resource run of mine. So that would be an interesting kind of to fit into that. So 3 or 4 years, and I think the DRC, things can be done in the DRC a lot quicker than they can in other jurisdictions, Australia, for example. So we will be flexible. We do have the potential at Kalayi for some early stage surface mining, which is a possibility to get some revenue going. We haven't really followed that up yet. It's still at the exploration stage, but I think I think there's so much optionality there that the goal obviously is to make the thing as valuable as we can for shareholders. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so I guess a lot more to come in March, and some decision making from you guys as well. So appreciate your time today, and Paul, please keep us up to date with how things are moving, and we'll speak to you again soon. Thank you.
Will do. Thanks, Matt.